Sometimes I think President Trump is a tragedy in two acts. The first tragedy opposes every day the core values and beliefs of our nation.
I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
The way he talks to people. How old are you?
28.
28.
26.
26. Come on, thank you. The way he characterizes them. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. I mean, he calls them pencil neck. What in the hell is happening? Our children are listening.
And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
So obsessed with the past. Inflames our nation's oldest wounds. Racism, hate.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
You better wake up to a president looking to settle personal scores, to a president lacked in the past and grudging.
He served in public life for around half a century. He's trying to cast himself as a seasoned man in these uncertain times. He says he can build on the Obama legacy and unite America. And he's the favorite to become the president based on current trends. But does Joe Biden really have what it takes to beat Donald Trump? And what does he bring for India? Does India stand to lose or gain if he wins the White House? In the next few minutes, we'll try to understand. I'll start with the opinion polls. Joe Biden has reason to smile. He has a double-digit advantage in numerous national surveys, solid leads in a number of battleground states, competitive figures in states that are considered Trump strongholds. But you cannot really put much faith in opinion polls. They said the exact same thing 4 years back about Hillary Clinton. The result was the exact opposite, which brings us to a very pertinent question. What does Joe Biden bring to the table besides the fact that he is not Donald Trump? Not very much. He's not young, he's not very different, he doesn't really fire up people at rallies, he's not a major policy innovator, he's not a particularly great orator either. The only thing in Biden's favor right now is how catastrophic the Trump presidency has been. How it has failed miserably to deal with a global pandemic, how it is struggling to manage the worst economic crisis in 100 years, how it has done little to end police brutality in America, how Trump's own words have only fueled civil unrest. When one considers the sheer scale of these events, when one considers all that has happened under Donald Trump, Joe Biden may seem like the lesser of the two evils. If he wins, it will be because of Trump. And it's a big if right now. Also, Joe Biden is no saint. His current lead in opinion polls should not be mistaken for evidence that he is the best man to lead America. Yes, he's the embodiment of the stereotypical Democrat, the type that Republican voters hate. But little else. In fact, Biden is prone to the same political machismo Donald Trump has often been accused of. He has an equally controversial past. Let me give you some examples. Joe Biden likes to project himself as a champion of civil rights and civil liberties. But when you look at his record, you're left with a different impression. Biden has built a career betraying black voters. He was once what the Americans called an anti-busing crusader. Let me tell you what busing is for those who are not aware. It was a practice mandated in 1971 to desegregate schools. So black students were driven to predominantly white schools in the neighborhood and vice versa. Joe Biden did not like this. He openly fought against this practice. He was involved in an anti-busing legislation in the 70s. He fought for the cause of segregationists, something that has come back to haunt him in the most divisive election in recent history. And that's not the only charge against Joe Biden. He's been accused of participating in the demonization of the black community. In a 1993 speech, Joe Biden warned of predators on the streets who were quote-unquote beyond the pale and had to be taken out of society. A statement that many say perpetuated harmful myths about the black community. A statement that Biden to this day justifies by saying that he hasn't always gotten things right. Well, I have a long list of other things that he hasn't got right. Joe Biden once supported the Hyde Amendment, a 1976 bill that prohibits federal funds from being used for abortion services. He's been called Joe Biden. He's been accused of lying about his involvement in the civil rights movement. He supported the Iraq war. Joe Biden played a leading role in inspiring congressional support for the invasion of Iraq. And he's been accused of inappropriate behavior. At least 8 women have alleged that Biden either touched them inappropriately or violated their personal space. He has been clicked in public, sniffing hair, rubbing noses and fondling faces, all questionable acts that have earned him the title Creepy Joe. His supporters glorify his actions by calling them 50 Shades of Biden, but shady they remain. And then we come to his views on India and the Indian government. Let me read out an excerpt from Biden's vision statement where he had some advice for the Indian government. I'm quoting. In Kashmir, he says, the Indian government should take all necessary steps to restore rights for all the people of Kashmir. Restrictions on dissent, such as preventing peaceful protests or shutting or slowing down the internet, weaken democracy. So says the man who fought for the segregation of blacks from whites. And that's not all. Biden has also been critical of India's decisions like the National Register for Citizens, NRC, and the Citizenship Amendment Act, the CAA. Let me quote again. These measures are inconsistent, he says, with the country's long tradition of secularism and with sustaining a multi-ethnic and multi-religious democracy. If elected, Joe Biden will raise these issues again with India, says his foreign policy advisor, Antony Blinken. Does that mean Joe Biden is completely anti-India? Not really. His stance on the H-1B visa issue gives you a very different impression. Biden has repeatedly stressed that if elected, he will move swiftly to lift Trump's suspension of H-1B visas. He's also promised to adopt a more nuanced approach on Iran, though that may be a lost cause for India right now. Remember, India-Iran relations suffered because of American sanctions. Now, Biden has repeatedly urged the Trump administration to relax these sanctions for the sake of other allies. So, Biden presidency may give India more space to deal with Iran. On balance, who would work better for India then, Biden or Trump? The fact is that bilateral relations are guided by national interest and not personal preference. So whatever Joe Biden, the Democrat, may have said, Joe Biden, the presidential candidate, has made it clear that India will be a priority. He has termed India as America's natural partner, his words. A partner America needs for its own safety, he said. Will he get the chance to walk the talk? We shall know soon enough.